Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, call the meeting to order and roll call.
Donna Kramer.
Present.
Ned Metzger.
Here.
Tim Mills. Matt Rankin. Ryan Werling. Here. Sue Wilson will be coming for her email. So.
All right, good news.
Thank you. Well, obviously, summertime slows down a little bit, so not a lot of good news this month, but the first photos you will see is our Irving staff returned on July 10th for staff meetings. And Irving students started school last Wednesday on the 12th. If you recall, that was quite a day of rain showers back and forth, and unfortunately, the block of time when parents and guardians were dropping off their students, the rain held off as the kids were coming back. So it was good to see all the kids back, and I know that they were excited to be back, and welcome to the new staff that are there as well. The next photo is new teachers. Had new teacher orientation on July 5th through the 7th. Had the opportunity to visit with them and give them a little bit of history and talk a little bit about our mission and vision and the goals of our district. So it was good to see them, and they're excited, and they're a great group, and we welcome them to Indianola Community School District. The last two pieces have to do with our summer athletic programs. The baseball team finished with a record of 28-10, placing second in the Hawkeye Conference, Little Hawkeye Conference, with a 16-5 record. As you can see, we had a number of students who received all conference and all district honors, so congratulations to the baseball team. The Indianola softball team, same thing. They finished third in the Little Hawkeye Conference with a 16-5 record. Obviously, they, along with the baseball team, they face a lot of great and high-quality teams throughout the season. The girls' team fell one game short of qualifying for state, but they had a great season with a lot of great honors for our individual students and our individual student athletes, and we're very fortunate that they had a great season as well. At one point, the girls' team was ranked as high as first in the state. So, congratulations. I know that both coaches and players were a little disappointed that they didn't reach their ultimate goal of the state tournament, but if you had the opportunity to watch them throughout the course of the year, they were fun to watch, and they were always competitive, and it gave the fans a great show. That's it for good news for this month.
Any board member reports? All right. Delegations, petitions, and communications. Anybody on the list this evening?
Josh Weitzel.
All right, I am Josh Reitzel with Strong Roots Christian School, and I'm just here to talk about a cooperative agreement with the Indianola School District. I reached out to the district office back here on June 13th just to see what would be required to do that. Previously, our students were able to dual enroll within the school district because last year we were considered underneath the competent private instruction as we were a homeschool group. As of May 23rd, we are actually approved and accredited by the state of Iowa, which no longer allows us to apply underneath the competent private instruction guideline for dual enrollment anymore. So we're just trying to see what we can do for our students, since we don't offer any type of sports or athletics for our students, as well as just being able to let them participate in band, choir, things like that they were able to participate in this last year when we were dual enrolled with no issues. I guess the frustrating thing is we've reached out and there's really never been the communication really hasn't been the greatest. We're willing to provide numbers and things like that for the district so that you guys can make a decision, but no one's ever asked us for what those numbers are. We've got 172 total students in the school, but of those 172, there's only going to be 18 students that would be middle school and up. That we're looking for them to participate in those activities within the Indianola School District. Of the 172 students total, we've got 132 of those students are already in the Indianola School District area, so we still have 40 students that are outside of the Indianola School District. Let's see here. I mean, we're talking. I think our administrator sent an email to Superintendent Lee and Ben earlier this week on exactly the amount of students that we were looking for to participate in band, as well as each sport within the Unionville School District. And I guess just trying to get just some further guidance, just some communication from the district on if you're able to allow that, because we just want to be able to go back to our families and our students and let them know if that is an option, that the Unionville School District is going to work with us on those or not. Because I believe even this week, marching band started. And one of our students wanted to participate in marching band, and unfortunately they can't because we don't have a decision yet from the school district on if that's a possibility or not. And I know just from talking to some people within the district that an email was sent out to all the coaches and music teachers back on June 27th to see if they were willing to work with us on a cooperative agreement. And we're coming up on 3 weeks here, and we still haven't heard any response back on what the decision is there, so that we can move forward with our families and just let them know what the possibilities are, or if we need to start looking at other options to be able to provide our students with those opportunities. It was our understanding that we weren't able to be on the last board meeting agenda because we didn't submit it at time, so we were assuming that that the cooperative agreement was going to be able to be discussed today. And unfortunately, I see that did not make the agenda, so that's why I'm here speaking. And just trying to understand everything. I've been told that it all comes down to enrollment and how it can classify you guys in regards to sports classifications. And I've done my research. Next year's classifications are already built off of what the school district's enrollment was for the 22-23 school year. It looks like the only sport that'd be impacted would be boys football, because but you guys are ranked 41. You have to be in the top 36 to go into the next classification. And then for girls sports, it looks like there's 5 sports there where you guys are right on the fence, because the top 40 go for that upper classification, and it looks like you guys are number 41 right now, and it looks like you guys are already classified for the highest music classification in the state of Iowa. So I just ask that you guys to please consider just allowing us the opportunity to keep doing what we were doing this past year as a dual enrolled school, with just allowing our students to come here and participate. My family still supports Indianola athletics and Indianola functions. And we've got several of our families too that do have kids that, even though they do go to our school, some of their older kids are already enrolled within the middle and the high school here in Indianola. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Josh.
Easy Hoffman.
I don't have anything formal written out to say, and Josh put it very eloquently. I'm just here as a parent of a student going into 8th grade, sort of adding to what he's saying. She participated in 7th grade volleyball last year, and I would just like for her to have the opportunity to participate in 8th grade volleyball this year. Right now, tryouts are going on for club teams, and so if she's not eligible to play here, then I need to be looking at other options for her. But I'd really love for her to stay here and support the Indianola School District sports. Her older brother is going to be a senior at the high school, and we love it here, so we'd like to just continue that relationship with you guys. So thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, moving on to the consent agenda, you will notice that the revised staffing sheet is on your table.
Sorry. I haven't been here for a while. I lost some of the protocol.
Seconded by Ryan.
We get whistled at.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
One second. Was that the whole consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. I have one correction on the. Sorry, I was trying to. It's the. It has dates So the dates are off. On the, is it the Hope, not Hope Ministries, what is it, the medical? Sorry, I scrolled down. It's the contracts. It's one of the contracts that has 2022 to 2023 under number 5. So I'm in favor of it, but we need to change that on that contract.
Which one? I got 23 to 24, 23 to 24, and 23 to 24 on all of these.
House of Mercy, number 5. Payment, 2022 to 2023 school year,
There you go.
with that change.
Yep, sorry about that, good catch.
Sue and Ryan is your first and second with the corrections, Dan?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Presentations.
Jason?
Good evening. Jason DeVries with Envision Architecture. Ted has asked me to give a brief update on our progress with the new high school addition and renovation project. The full board probably hasn't seen much update since the bond was passed and some of the early bond renderings that we produced for that effort. So I'm here today to just give you an update on where we've been. So since last November, up until June 1st, we were meeting with district representatives, a steering committee on a monthly basis, a slew of user group meetings with teachers and Ray's team, the facilities team, the city, the fire department, a lot of just meetings and information gathering as we move through the schematic design phase, or what we call it. It's really about gathering, it's about 80% gathering information and 20% documenting on our part. So as we progress through the design process, we enter what's design development, which is a little less input from the user group and the steering committee, because we've kind of gathered 80% of the information that we need to start documenting the new high school project. And then we'll eventually get into construction documents here come September, October, and that'll be even less input, because by then we'll have gathered all the information that we need to put that out. So what you're going to see today is our presentation from June 1st, which was our final schematic design presentation, documenting everything that we heard to date. So you can skip past this because this is the old agenda. I wanted to give just a brief update on the site plan. So this is the overall bird's eye view of the campus, I'll call it. The block in white, sort of in the middle of the page, is the 30% of the high school that we're keeping. The rest of the high school is getting demolished. I think you all are aware there's some pretty bad failures in the existing 60s school that we're looking to update with this project. So everything in the purple is new. The sort of donut or rectangular shape in the northwest side is the new 2-story academic wing. And then the north-south section that's just west of your existing auditorium is what we're calling the wedge, which is really the 2-story commons space. So cafeteria, gathering space, pre-function space for the gym and athletics and performing arts as well. And then the lower rectangular block is that second phase, the competition gymnasium. So in that block, there's new locker rooms, new wrestling, spectator seating for 1,800 spectators, new competition court, practice courts in there as well. And then what's wrapping around the southern side of your existing auditorium is the new administration suite. And then we are keeping the old gym, the old southeastern gym as we've been calling it. So that's far off to the right in the bottom side here. More broadly, we're also redistributing parking across the entire site. So you can see, if you want to orient yourself, the tennis courts on the north side of the property We are having to remove 2 of those just so that we can get our addition to fit in on site. We're sort of landlocked, you guys probably know that. So as part of the project, we are building 2 more in, and then we have an add, so that would get us back to 10, which you have today.
Okay.
And then there's an add alternate 2 that we're currently processing that would add an additional 2. So that's why you're seeing 4 in the dark, heavy lines in the northeast corner. And that's a bid alternate. So that would get you to 12, and on bid day come February of 24, the board can decide whether or not those actually proceed forward or not based on how bids come in with the major project. So that's just one example. We are also connecting this partial loop road that goes around the high school. The northwestern parking lot will end up being the teacher lot. That is also where bus drop off and pickup will occur. So we're completely segregating the bus traffic and the parent drop off traffic on the south. They're completely isolated from each other. There is a dedicated entrance on the northeast corner of that purple block there that you're seeing. That would be open for that. You know, those buses are pretty scheduled, so that would be open for a 20-minute window of time to allow the kids to come in from the buses, and then that would be locked down after that time. The only entrance that is open is the southern entrance. So we did a lot of work. This probably looks a lot different than what you saw at bond time, because we sort of flipped the whole thing on its head after we understood that we wanted one consolidated entry for school during the day, activities at night, both athletics and performing arts. So everybody is entering on the same location unless you're a teacher or unless you're a kid coming on the bus in the morning. If you zoom back out, there's a dash line too just west of that purple block, the academic wing. That's the future expansion. We do have 8 classrooms built in to our current design. So that's going to handle any growth that you see over the next 10 years, but we also are saving room for the next 20, 25, 30 years to grow and expand westerly even more beyond that growth. So you can see down south here, the main entrance right above that drop-off loop on the southern side of the school. That's the parent drop-off and pickup. There is an administrator, visitor, parent pickup parking zone as well. And then that whole northern section is dedicated to ADA stalls for activities mostly. So that during the day that's expected to be quite empty, but it's there for activities, both performing arts and athletics, for folks to park there and have close proximity to both of those activities at night. And we have a southeastern lot that will be placed after we demolish the old school. You can kind of orient yourself with the baseball and softball fields off to the east. That's all going to be new parking. We're calling that the junior senior lot, if you want to put it that way. And then on the other side of the drop-off loop, there's the freshman and sophomore lots as well as you move west from there. And then there's a small lot there west of the gym that we're identifying as another bid alternate, so that you guys can decide on bid day if you want to accept that. It's more of a courtesy lot for athletic events. Referees can park there, visitor buses can park there, that type of thing. So the overall site looks a lot different than it does today. There's also no connecting driveway between the teacher lot and all of the student lots. So we've taken that out. Teachers would enter off of, I don't remember. I know the southern one is Salem. What's the northern one? Ashland. So teachers and buses would enter and exit off Ashland, and then students and other folks can enter off of Salem down south. So we've isolated those 2 parking lots. The loop road that I mentioned around the north side of the existing school, between the school and the tennis courts, is giving us fire department access. It's giving a place for deliveries to come in the morning, back up to the northeast corner there where it meets the old gym, the north gym, and be able to drive out and get out on the south side of the property. So, any questions on the site plan? We're continuing to work with the city. We just had a meeting Friday with IMU talking about purchasing transformers and who's putting in the underground utility lines and all of that. So we made good progress on that front too from a site perspective.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we, and I decided to have one entrance. So on nights that we have home basketball and home band, we're all gonna go through one set of doors.
Yes. But mind you, that set of doors is close to 30 feet wide, and you
has
have mass.
handicap.
Yes.
Handicap
It's all,
accessible.
it's all on level. You enter on the main level, so the gym is actually depressed, holding back soil. You enter on the, it's called a top-loaded gym. So you'd actually look down into the gym, so everything is accessible on the main level. There's an elevator right when you walk in for folks that can't use the stairs. There's also stairs right there as well.
And then where's the, like the stage door that will be a garage like to get sets in and out?
That happens on the eastern side in the existing school where your weight cardio space is
Okay.
now.
Yep.
That is what we're calling for being the new prop build zone. And there'll be some new doors put in across the existing corridor to get to the backstage area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This diagram is not showing the new work completely accurate.
No, that's
So.
okay. I sat on this committee a long time ago, so
Okay.
a lot has changed since then.
Yep.
And then the board will be able to at some point discuss the tennis court situation we have going on, because this is the first I've heard that we were gonna take any tennis courts out.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
It's tight. The site is tight. We have a lot of fall that we're dealing with. There's 30 feet of fall from the main entrance here on the south side to your tree line, the trail to the north.
Yep.
So it's just we're gonna have a lot of dirt work that we're gonna have to deal with. And we needed to get a loop road in there for fire department access, deliveries and things like that. So there was a plan where we were getting rid of more, sadly. So this was about the best we could do with what we had available. And we're doing everything we can to get back to the 10. That's part of the base bid. And then there's 2 more as an add alternate to get to 12. I know they're not that old.
No.
I fully realize that. We're just tight on space. We have to get enough parking stalls, and we need the space for the academic wing too. So that's part of the reason why we twisted it. In fact, it's on a 10-degree rotation from cardinal axis to try and free up more of that space to the northeast. We just couldn't get it all the way there without losing 2. Any other questions on, I know I don't have a ton of time, I want to keep going here, but I also want to give you your time for questions. Any questions on the site plan?
Does IMU have any requirements for fire suppression, additional hydrants, things like that?
Yes, we will have those placed at the proper distances around the entire facility. Plus your entirely new facility will be sprinkled, and we're going to be required to go back into the existing high school that isn't sprinkled today and sprinkle that. That is a requirement.
Will that all be one system, or will it be multiple systems?
There are going to be 2 risers, because there's already one in the fly space at the Performing Arts Auditorium space, and then we're putting in a new one as well, because it's not large enough to handle the new addition. Okay. The next 2 slides are just the floor plans, and again, this was a point in time on June 1st. We have continued, we haven't just been sitting idle the last month and a half. We've been progressing these, but ultimately the floor plans haven't changed all that much. We've continued to develop them and design the overall project, but the general floor plan has stayed pretty much the same. You can kind of see this is the lower level, what you're seeing first. So you see that rectangular space in the northwest side of the floor plan. That's the academic wing with all the classrooms, the science labs, collaborative learning space. There is an internal courtyard that we're planning to use for outdoor learning activities. It's fully secure. Nobody from the outside can get through there without badge access or something through a door. So the kitchen is off to the right, the northeast side there. And then south of the kitchen, where you're seeing all those tables, that's what we're considering the common space, and that's a 2-story volume. That seats 508, I believe. So the intent is that's where kids are eating their food after they get to the kitchen and take their tray out there and eat. As part of the base bid, the old wrestling room would be the new weight cardio space, and the old weight cardio space would be that stage build or the prop build zone that I was talking about earlier. You can kind of see those dashed squares. Those are representing overhead doors in that current weight cardio space. So you can see how there'd be a big door to the outside and then a big door crossing the corridor that leads you to the auditorium that gets you to the backstage zone. And then one of the bigger things that we've identified as a need is the current roof of your, I think it's your 2D art zone. It's the pre-function space outside the auditorium to the south. It's a really low roof. Laura Peterson actually sent me a picture when that was fully occupied once. There's a ton of people that gather in there. So we're actually pulling that roof off and raising it. So that's going to be a 2-story volume, and you'll see this in the renderings, that you're going to see through 2-story glass right when you walk in. So there's equal attention given to athletics on the left and performing arts on the right immediately when you walk in. You got your secure entrance, the admin suite, and then you're immediately confronted with gymnasium and performing arts auditorium before you go deeper into the common space and get to the academic wing. You can see the gym on the bottom left-hand side there, the competition courts, the bleachers, the locker rooms. The wrestling is far off on the west side. This is also our storm shelter for the school as well. If you go to the next slide, that will be the main level. So the reason it looks like there's a big white trapezoidal space in the middle is that's representing the 2-story volume of the commons. So there's a bridge link that we're calling it from our pre-function entry zone back to the academic wing. The media is up on the upper right-hand corner overlooking that 2-story common space. Again, you'll see this in the renderings. That's the second floor of the academic wing, and obviously the top-loaded gymnasium too, with the 3-lane track around the top of that gym. So imagine you're up on grade and you're looking down. Oops, sorry about that. You're looking down 15 feet into that court zone. And then on the south side of that auditorium, that's where you're seeing the new administration offices. So there's PD down there, and there's online learning. We're taking over one of the locker rooms associated with that old gymnasium and making that online learning. So there's a secondary entrance over there just for that. Questions, floor plans? Okay. You keep scrolling, if you would. So now the fun part. There was a lot of thought and effort put into this, a lot of working with the steering committee, with the ELT team as well. We realized pretty quickly that the desire for a new sort of learning beacon, that's what we've been, or learning lantern, that's what we've kind of been calling it, was a desire. A new face for the high school. So we started showing the renderings in both sort of in a dawn situation and in the daytime, because everybody wants to see it in the daytime too. It can't look bad in the daytime, but we needed a way to represent to you guys in the steering committee that this thing's going to glow and you're going to see it from Highway 92, because there's going to be a lot of light emitting from this glassy 2-story common space we're calling a wedge, because that's how it's sort of shaped. So this is what you'd see if you're approaching on the parent loop that I showed you on the site plan. The darkened right-hand side is that administration suite, so those are the punched windows into all those offices. And then you've got your 2-story common space where you'd enter, that's the main entrance, and then to the left, where it says Indianola there in internally lit purple lettering, that's the gymnasium block of space. And you're only seeing about half the height of the gym. The other half is buried underground, so we're holding back. I told you earlier there's a 30-foot fall or grade change. We're holding back about 15 of that here, and that's what we're depressing into the ground. So the next shot is the same exact view, it's just 3:15 in the afternoon and students would be leaving. I mentioned earlier that the gym is a storm shelter, and it is actually going to be built out of precast concrete, and a lot of people get the wrong impression when they think precast, they think warehouse, but we're doing a lot of specialty things to the precast. We're actually tapering the front of the panel. You can do a lot of things with that, so we're getting a lot of light play on those panels, and how we're treating the actual windows that are punched into the precast too. They have some frame extensions on them to help identify that elevation is not flat. It'll play differently as the sun rolls across the sky. And then on the right-hand side, the sort of rusty red color is a sort of chevron corrugated metal panel. It's not your typical corrugated metal. It has some dynamic shape to it, and the color was derived from your old red 60s brick that is currently on the facility. We did look at ways that we could try and save that brick, but it is, from the 1960s. It's going to be brittle. It's going to be hard to save. So we're trying to figure out ways that we can save as much as we can and try and reinvent it in the high school so it doesn't go away. Sort of a touch in the past type idea. It wasn't going to work with phasing to just simply pull it down off the old and put it on the new, because we need to have the new academic wing up before we can demo. It was too much of a phasing nightmare. So we couldn't go down that path, but we're trying to figure out ways to utilize that as well. If you keep going here, there's probably a lot of these to get through. Just another straight on view. We're kind of standing between those two large trees that are south of the high school right now, looking north at that main entrance. It's about 32 feet tall there at the entrance, so it's not going to be small by any means. If you keep going. Daytime shot. And then moving around to the west side, looking back, dawn, and then daytime as well. It's a little bit closer view. You can kind of scroll through these a little bit. So then we move around. So this is the space in between the Phase 2 gymnasium and the academic wing itself. We made a cost decision pretty early on. We were able to save some pretty substantial costs changing the academic wing itself to precast as well. But we're, again, treating it, so it's not going to feel like, it's not going to give you that warehouse feel. So you've got that same metal panel, chevron metal panel on the second, or the main level, the second floor there. And then you'd have exposed precast on the bottom. We're doing that because beyond this sort of greeny landscaping zone here in the front of the image, that's spill out space for the gymnasium to the north. So the idea is that'd just be a sod space where kickball, dodgeball, things like that are happening. Spill out PE space essentially. And we wanted to be cognizant of that as balls are being kicked against the building and things like that. So the precast is going to give you that durable surface inside that space. This is a zoomed in view looking back at the commons. You got the academic wing on the left and the gymnasium on the right, and you're looking into that two-story volume with that bridge link connecting the pre-function space to the academic wing at the north. Keep going. This is a shot looking inside that courtyard. So again, there's going to be a lot of seating opportunities. We're trying our best to not add maintenance to the district's staff. So we're looking at, turf in here. We are looking at a few real trees because you need some of that in a space like this. But we're hoping to, low maintenance landscaping and perhaps even artificial turf instead of sod in this space. We do have means to get into this space for the facilities crew. They're going to be able to get through an overhead door from the west. 2 overhead doors, so you can essentially drive through the school to get into this courtyard.
Is there a train?
Yeah, this will be trained. It's massive. I mean, this is, I forget off the top of my head, I want to say it's 60 to 70 feet wide by close to 300 feet long. So this isn't a small courtyard. Yeah, there'll be multiple drains in this space for storm management.
Soccer field in there.
Yeah. Keep going. The next shot is just a view of that secondary bus entry. There'll be a small canopy on there. We were careful not to have entry confusion. That happens a lot at schools. So this is more of a downplayed entry, but there's still going to be a canopy here to give covered entry to the students coming on the bus and the teachers. And then this is the delivery side. We just didn't want to forget about this side. You're standing beside the tennis courts on your right. That north gym is on your left, and we're down about 8 feet right now from the floor of the gym, because if you remember, there's a hillside there, it kind of swales down. So we took advantage of that, and this is where we're gonna have the delivery trucks be able to back up, deliver food for kitchen, and then distribute. We have a ramp here too for the distribution to the other schools across the district as well. Dumpsters, that sort of thing is back here. Not a lot of people will see this side, but it's important. And then that's sort of it for the exterior views that we've populated to date. We wanted to show the phasing of how this project is going to be constructed so everybody gets an understanding of how it might look for 3 years. This is how phase 1 looks complete. So you've got the academic wing, you have the common space, the 2-story wedge space, and you have the administration suite on the south side of the auditorium. You can sort of see the shape of the auditorium as it stands today to locate yourself. And then there's nothing to the west. And depending on how funding comes in, it will sit this way for 1, 2, 3 years. So we wanted to make sure we weren't just ignoring it. It's not going to be a short period of time. And then if you go to the next slide, this is phase 2, but without the weight cardio alternate. So you can see the gym block there, and then there's this depressed zone that is future location for weight cardio overlooking the gymnasium if the ad alternate can be taken on bid day. And if you scroll to the next one, this would be full fit out. So this is phase 2 complete with the ad alternate weight cardio space. What's in that depressed zone west of the gym there, what's not showing in the rendering, there's 3 or 4 mechanical units sitting in there that are feeding the gym. So we're hiding all of those from a screening perspective. There are zoning rules that we have to comply with. So we're doing that on the academic wing with those white rectangular boxes up on the roof. We're screening the units, but in this zone for the gym, instead of having them sit up on the roof for everybody to see and then we'd have to screen them, we're simply extending our precast up and screening them that way.
And that's the courtyard there? That corner will be finished off? You said nobody could get into it?
The courtyard and the academic wing is completely contained.
Oh, okay,
This
other
space
one.
between is really just sod, open area for PE, and it's
Okay.
not enclosed.
Oh, okay.
So you can see those 2 large trees. Those are those 2 beautiful trees that you have there right now. That everything's sort of playing off of. We're wrapping our loop around it. Our visitor parking is right underneath them. So we're trying to save those. And we're trying to save the existing tree line that goes off to the west as well. That's what you're seeing on the bottom side of the view. The northern, or the eastern end, I guess, up by the old gymnasium, those are the only new trees that we're planting there on the front. We're trying to maintain everything else. Okay, any questions on the exterior design? Okay, I think we move interior next. So this is the view that you would have right when you walked in the main entrance on the south. So on the left-hand side, you can see those tall windows allow you visibility into the gymnasium. And then if you were to look to the right, kind of where that guy is bending down, pointing, that's looking into 2-story glass that looks into that pre-function or 2D art space south of the auditorium. And then you have all of this pre-function space. There's an elevator. You can see it signed there on the right-hand side. There's a ticket. There's concessions. All of that is sort of happening in this zone. So we see this being a very active zone, both during the school day and during activities, whether it's performing arts or athletics. This is just a little deeper into that same shot. Looking left, there's a trophy case condition, a signing opportunity that's kind of just a placeholder right now. We haven't fully developed what that's going to look like, but there's going to be seating opportunities out here, people to grab food for, at performing arts events and athletic events. They can come out here, go to concessions, sit here if they don't want to take it back and eat their food and then go back in. So this, again, we see this being a pretty active space. Calling it the Hall of Pride, I guess. And then this is that same shot, but looking right into that 2-story glass. There's a hole in the floor, essentially, an opening in the floor. The stair goes down kind of on the left-hand side of the view here down to the performing arts, and then that's that two-story glass that I was talking about, where we're raising the roof of that existing pre-function space to make it 2 stories tall. This is just a better shot of that looking down at that floor opening into the lower level. So we're taking all those columns out, all of those sort of benches around the columns that are there now, if you can picture that space, because all of those go with the old school. Those are columns from the old 60s school before the auditorium was built. So we're pulling all of that out, so it's going to really free up that space for pre-function, 2D art, and then what's right under you in this shot, we're currently developing what we're calling the 3D art zone 2. So there's ample opportunity for that to occur. This is a view of the gymnasium. Looking down, again, it's top loaded, so where you're standing is at the main floor elevation. And you look down 15 feet into this bowl, dark bowl zone. The only thing that's highlighted is the actual playing surface. So, again, 1,800 spectators, home and visitor side, track around the top. We will have to control some of the light. You probably saw it in the exterior renderings. There's some horizontal louvers on the inside face of the windows on the south side. Trying to put those inside so they're not outside becoming bird ledges and things like that. So we're trying to control that glare as it comes into that space as well, which the 10-degree rotation will help with some of that as well. Just another shot of the gym. And this is the 2-story common space. You're seeing that gray box at the far end of the image at the lower level. That is the kitchen. So we kind of paint that to sort of go away. There's some coiling doors that would allow ingress and egress through that space when it's time into the servery zone. But this 2-story common space could be utilized anytime. You're seeing that bridge along the left-hand side of the image, and then the window up above the kitchen is looking into the media space. Off to the right, where those 5 students are standing in this image, just to locate yourself, that's the current athletic corridor. So that glassy vestibule that exists, I think there's a trophy case in there, I want to say, on one of the walls. That's that corridor, so just to locate yourself. When you come out of that old corridor, you're going to be confronted with this 2-story space right away. Now we've dropped down to that lower level, sort of the same view. There will likely be some windows looking into what's now wrestling, whether that is weight cardio if the alternate can't be accepted, or if it ends up being, if the alternate is accepted, it ends up being some additional study hall and health space. And this is kind of standing at media looking back towards the entrance, so now you're looking south. West-ish. Here you're starting to see the portals to the academic wings themselves down into the corridors leading to the classrooms on both levels there. So now moving into the actual learning community, what we're calling it, the academic wing. This is a collaborative space outside the classrooms. So the corridor that you saw looping around the entire floor plan is sort of what you're seeing here in the 3D rendering. And then we have these spill-out zones that can be utilized throughout the day for gathering or studying, reading. There's some isolated rooms for additional teaching, and then there's just some opportunities for window seating and studying along the outside wall too, to look out into the courtyard. There are 4 of these, 8 of these. 2 here, 2 right below it, and then 4 on the other side as well. Keep going. This is just a typical classroom. This is the head wall location, the teaching wall, I guess I'll call it. Whiteboard in the middle. There's some tackable surface on either side, and we haven't completely settled on what this teaching wall is going to look like, but you've got storage on either side as well, and then ample light into the classrooms. So these are about, I want to say 100 square feet larger than your current classrooms. So they're appropriately sized, I can say that. The according to some of the other projects that we've been pushing out, some of your peers. This is looking into media on the main level. So plenty of access there. This is actually standing inside of the media center, so stacks of books there on the left and right, seating opportunities in the middle, and then there's some windows in the far depth of the picture there that those actually look out. You might recognize those from the exterior rendering. Those look out above the delivery zone. Not a lot to see over there, so they're just high, just letting daylight in. Any questions on the renderings or the design as a whole? We're a little bit high in at our schematic design level estimating, but that's normal. We don't know a lot yet. Our third-party estimator and our internal estimator don't know a lot either. We just haven't had enough time to document things fully yet. And that's what we're doing now. We've actually progressed into the 50% design development, which is the next stage after schematic design, and it is currently being priced right now. So in a couple of weeks, we'll have a better idea where we're at. But at schematic design, we had already taken some steps to move in the right direction. I mentioned the precast change, saving some dollars. We're not there yet, so we're continuing to tackle that, but we'll keep on it. We know we only have a certain amount of money of the community's dollars to spend, so we're tracking that pretty hard. And there's just some extra stuff in there. You don't have to keep scrolling. There's nothing else relevant to today. Any questions on the overall design?
No, that's a good update, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep, no problem.
All right, moving on to district, or discussions and action items. The 2022-2023 school-based mental health services report.
Sure. Real quick, I just want to give an update because I know it is one of the goals of the board as we continue to support our students with social emotional behavioral health. This is just the mental health service overview of the 22-23 school year. And this was put together by Stacy Warren, who leads that within our district, and she's also a member of the Harlan AEA. One of the strengths I think that's really positive for Indianola Community Schools is the mental health collaborations, and I'll read through some of this. At the elementary, middle school, and high school levels, these teams consist of school counselors, nurses, school-based mental health providers, and Heartland AEA school social emotional behavioral mental health and primary contact staff. One thing when I came here last year when I met with Stacy the first time, and she said, you know, Indianola's really ahead of the game with a lot of school districts, and the current model that we have in place, a lot of schools are trying to get to be this model. So she uses this a lot when she contacts and works with her schools on what you want to have in place for the health needs of our students and our mental health needs of our students and their students as well. Just some comparisons, and I won't go too in depth into it. In the fall of 22, 92 students were served in basically the first semester. In the spring semester, 111 students were served. So 19 more students were added from first semester to second semester. During the school year of 21-22, 164 students received mental health services through House of Mercy, Choices Therapy, and Bailey Saul. This year, we ended up with 203, which is 39 more from the previous year. So again, it's one of those pieces that we know that this is a need within our school and our community, and we want to provide those services so our students can really have a great day of school. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. If they come with, you know, certain situations that they're trying to work through, it does impact their learning, and that's one of the goals. We want to make sure that every student that comes to school has a great opportunity to learn every single day. You can read through some.
Were those kids that were referred, or is it a combination between referrals
and serviced? Yes. Yep. And you can read through some additional information as regards to the needs of some of the students that were referred and serviced. District and feedback. When you look at the overall provider feedback and the district feedback, 99% either consider the referral process and the student care excellent or very good. And that's quite a testament to what they're doing with that, because, you know, we know that we have enough students that we can service more. And we try to do the best that we can, but it's just like everything else. There's only so many providers and so many people that have the opportunity to provide services for our students. So again, we know that when our students are referred and they are serviced, that it's a high quality function and program that they're getting met, their needs are getting met at. You know, some of the services that are some of the examples, I've been pleased with the services at our school this year. If I have a question or need, the person is, Brenda has been very responsive and helpful. AA is highly supportive and works well to support our building needs. Choices is fantastic to work with. Very happy with the level of care, responsiveness. So again, that seems to be a theme throughout. And it's, I know, again, it's one of the areas that the board is really focused on. And we are making progress. Are we where we need to be? Probably not, but that's going to be a work over time as well, making sure that we have enough support staff that can meet the needs of all of our students. Overall satisfaction of the referral process by the provider, again, 99% either excellent or very good, with the collaboration of the buildings and the providers themselves, again, 99% excellent or very good. One of the things that the areas that we're going to continue to work on, current areas of barriers, workforce shortage, trouble keeping therapists, wait list for student referrals. One of the things that a lot of this was used by different monies that are no longer available, so once it runs out, how are we going to continue to support this through the general fund or other means that we have in order to make sure we continue this service for our students. Continue need to review and options for confidential space in buildings. We know our buildings are tight and we do whatever we can, so we're just going to have to continue to focus on how we make sure we have spots for the providers and the students that they see. And to continue to provide ongoing support for new people that come in. It's one of those pieces, we have turnover just like every place else. How do we indoctrinate and bring those new people in to make sure that they're up to, I guess, snuff with what we're doing with our students? Any questions on that? And on the back, on the last sheet, you can just see the different areas of what individual buildings are doing. I won't go through all of them.
So have we had conversations with Choices, House of Mercy, and Bailey as to if there's anything we as a district can do better to support them?
Yep.
Because like Amanda's been at the middle school forever, so we finally have that continuum of care that we want. So like, have we engaged in conversations with our providers to make sure they're getting what they need from our side, right? So we surveyed everyone they provide services for. Have we engaged in a conversation to make sure they're happy if they need small things in to make their jobs easier? Are we having those conversations?
Yeah, so what we do is they do monthly meetings as well, and if things come up, they talk with the building principal and the provider, and Stacy's there. And then halfway through the school year, Stacy will come and visit with me, and we'll talk about the needs of what we can do to better support. And then July 11th, we met with each one of the providers. Well, I guess Choices couldn't make it, but we met with the providers, myself and Stacy, and said, okay, here's where we're at. How do we make sure we're supporting you? What do you need from us? So, yep, we meet pretty consistently and talk about those
Besides
barriers.
the confidential space, did they have any big needs that any equipment or anything that
Not that
we
they
need to
brought,
look at?
not that they
Okay.
brought up.
Okay. Did they discuss any new best practices for our teachers in mental health crisis or mental health first aid or anything like that that we should be training them on?
Not really.
Okay.
Or there might be, but we didn't get into that in depth
Okay.
within that conversation. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on to the 2024 IASB legislative priorities.
That's me again. So by the end of August, middle of August, IASB would like to have are 3 to 4 legislative priorities that we would like to focus on as a school district for next year. You should have received the resolution and the legislative priorities in an email a couple weeks ago. And, last year, our priorities were school safety, mental health, special education, and teacher recruitment and licensure. Don't know if you want to continue with them or if there's others that you would like to see taken off and something new added.
What were the ones we had again?
Last year, it was school safety, mental health, special education, teacher recruitment, and licensure.
I had done special ed funding on mine. I had special ed funding,
Yeah,
the funding piece of
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I was just saying, the funding pieces, talked about that one at the meeting, I would say the funding piece you might want to put in there.
Yep.
I like all of those. I'd like to see retention added to the teacher.
You only get 5.
We gotta make it down to 4.
Oh, as long as it's
Yeah.
retention, I mean,
Keep them the same.
it's, yeah, I would just make that as one of our, there's a lot that goes into that.
Right.
But I agree, I personally think those are the 4 most important.
So you want to make a motion to do it, so you don't have to wait till August? Is that what you're?
We can do it right now.
Yeah, I'll make a
Yep.
motion
Safety,
to safety, mental health, teacher.
special ed funding,
Special ed
and
funding.
licensure, and recruitment and retention.
Teacher recruitment and retention. Second.
First by Ben, seconded by Tim. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. District branding guidelines. That's you again.
That's me
You're
again.
like the star of the show.
I know it.
Guys.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good night. Thanks for coming.
So really, we'd started looking at a possible secondary logo to go with our current one, and that kind of disbanded. So I really spoke with Lee and some of our administrators and Jerry Gallagher from the Donovan Group and said, at least one thing that we need to get out of this is we need to have consistent colors, because we have all different colors of purple and yellow, and we want to make sure that moving forward, that whatever colors that we use, they are consistent throughout. So I had Jerry Gallagher's team work through, and they did put some things together with different color schemes if you're going to use our primary logo, what they would like you to do, and not to distort it if it. So again, so we're being consistent, and the really big thing is, and I shared this with Lee, is as we're moving forward, because the athletic department deals with most of the color scheme, and it's something that Bernie can use even with paint, that we have a yellow and a purple that we would like to use moving forward. And really all we need to do is approve that this evening, and that will put to rest some of this for a while.
So when you say logo,
Yep,
so like in the schematics, it had the cursive I in the middle of the gym floor.
yep.
But our logo is this logo.
The only logo that we have
So
by
we're-
the district,
Okay.
this is our primary logo. Now, again, it's one of those pieces of what people do outside of that.
But when you say what people do outside of that, that's people outside of the school district. Our coaches can't go and make a secondary logo, correct? Like, this is their logo. If we're ordering shirts for our baseball team, for our softball team, it is that logo, correct?
That hasn't been what's been done in the past. I mean, I'm just
Isn't
gonna be
that
honest.
isn't that what we're doing though? That's what I'm asking.
Is that what we're doing moving forward?
Isn't that what we're doing?
All we're doing right now is we're just doing the color scheme.
Oh,
Because we,
Children's uniforms are black. I mean, lots
Yeah.
of them have black.
But we are addressing with this particular logo, not any options like that. right?
yes, not making any changes to the current primary logo.
So those look like tattoos gone wrong.
Yes. So the logo that we currently have, that's our primary logo, the way it is in here is how it's to be used. It's not to be distorted, it's not to be changed, moved around, anything like that. We haven't tackled that secondary logo yet because that's all over the place. And that really is a meeting that is gonna take a lot of work within this district, and we know that. Because, I'll be honest with you, I've been here 13, 14 months, whatever it is now. I have probably 25 shirts. I don't know if any of them have the same logo on.
Well, I agree that we can't control what our outside community prints, but I guess I don't understand why if you're representing Indian Knoll Community School District as our soccer team, why you're not in our logo and our colors. I guess, if we're gonna brand ourselves, I mean, that's, athletics and music are number top marketers out there. When we're in these communities, that's who's marketing us. And so, I guess I was under the assumption when we are branding, it's so we have a matching logo. So we aren't standing at the homecoming parade and all of a sudden we have a cursive I coming down on all our band members, but we have another I coming down on our football jerseys and another I on our cross-country jerseys. I thought that's maybe I
If I can.
You can.
So the branding committee, when we first sat down and started going through this, there was a lot of voices, right? There was a lot of perspectives on all of that. And I
What
think-
committee did this fall under?
This didn't fall under, the color was not a committee at all. It was me talking to Jerry Gallagher to get the color scheme set. That's all this is.
And so, but what happened out of that was, it was almost like we weren't gonna necessarily get great big strides, like it was falling on. And so this is really the starting point. Let's identify the purple and the yellow color that's supposed to be used. Let's settle on what we know is our primary logo for right now, and from there, I'm sure that the dialogue and the conversations will come for what, if any, derivatives are acceptable, but that's down the road. This is like the first step, is the way that I interpret this in this school board meeting.
So is it, like, I just think of my organization, we have one logo. That's what we use. Is it common to have secondary?
Yeah, do most high schools have a second one, or is it?
Like,
Yeah, I think when you're talking sports, every sports team
Yep.
has multiple logos.
Yep.
Every single
Most
one.
schools have more than one.
And most schools have more than one. They have their one that would be on like an academic letterhead, and then maybe their sports. But like you think of baseball, for example, every single Major League Baseball team has multiple logos. They might have like like I'm a Red Sox fan, so like they have their red stockings, and then their hat is their B. And so I think down the road, that's not uncommon if like the I is our academic logo and the script I is some sort of athletic logo.
But kind of going first step, identifying the colors
Yep.
was kind of what I took from this read coming into here.
So does that mean all our uniforms need to be these colors?
That's our goal, is that every uniform moving forward, and I talked to Lee about this when I shared it with him. I said, can you live with these colors? He said, this is what we would like to use, because he's been asking for that, because usually when you get that, your market or whoever you purchase uniforms from will have to go out and find that color for you to work with. That's the goal with all of this.
So we're approving tonight, we're approving the colors, the fonts, and the vendor guidelines,
Yep.
and setting the primary logo as it is
Primary
now.
logo, yep.
Okay.
So I make a motion to adopt the brand guideline document, which defines the colors and current logo for the district, as well as outside groups.
Second.
First by Tim, second by Ryan. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Teamwork Strategic Planning Update.
That is me again. Just a reminder that on the 26th, we had our district strategic roadmap. And we came to a proposal for the district mission. what our core purpose would be, our vision, or what we intend to create, our core values, which were the 5. Let's see if Ray can pull that up. I don't want to go too fast for him. What our core values are, what the drivers of our words and actions will be, and our strategic direction, and what will be our focus for our improvement efforts. If you recall, at the end of that meeting, we have the opportunity to send this out for community feedback. And really, we're not doing anything other than making a decision. Do we want to wait until August to send it out mid-August as people come back, or we can send it out now? We usually leave it out there for about 10 to 15 days to get community feedback. This is the final draft that we came up with that night. We want to allow families, or community members and families, to provide feedback on that. I'll work with Ray to make sure we get that done. Are we okay if we do it in mid-August?
I think that makes sense. You're gonna have more eyes on it. People aren't paying attention right now.
Do we have any way of having like a kiosk or a thing where as people come to like teacher night or whatever, they can go in and like provide a, does that exist? Is there like a way that, like, you know how the tables are out there and they're like handing out popsicles or whatever, and there's like is there like a kiosk? Is there a way to set up something where those folks that are sitting at that table are able to say some comment, or there's some, you know, stand-up placard that says, you know, care to comment on the, I don't know, maybe it's a Survey Monkey, I have no idea, that they can walk up to Survey Monkey, type in your name, and you get to make a statement.
Probably set something up, some Google form or something.
You can just have
Not
tablets
labor
there.
intensive, and
Right.
probably pretty short, like 5 questions max or something like that, that would,
Ray and Ray Queener to make sure that we have it all set up so we know what we're exactly looking for. We should be set.
it's really like 4 questions, right? District mission, core values, strategic direction, and vision.
That's
That's
it.
really all it is.
Well, probably no different than last year when we all were out during back to school for the bond issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all had all the back to schools. We had a booth and was handing out a bunch of stuff.
So there's no action on this. We'll just decide, it's been decided that we'll take it out in mid-August, and we'll leave it open and probably till, 10, 15 days, and we'll get feedback, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it and look for hopefully some board action at our September meeting.
Thanks, Ed. Curriculum committee update.
Is that you again?
Yes, I mean, he was there.
Go ahead, Tim.
I know nothing about
I'll let everybody else take it on.
We met just last week. We talked about just instructional coaches, some success we're having with them, working with some teachers, and how they are able to work with the teachers to really just get better conversations drawn out through some high school students. They did kind of a pilot study where they talked the students through something, a certain dialogue about, is social media dangerous? And the first time they did it, so many kids engaged, so many didn't engage. And then after going in with the instructional coach and just talking about certain ways you engage and more hands-on experience, the next time they had a conversation, they had almost double the amount of conversation and almost double the amount of comments, and all the kids were participating instead of the other ones that didn't participate. So and I just really stressed what instructional coaches are doing to really help the teachers and how that directly affects the students. Looking, I think this is an action item, maybe it's in the next meeting, about DMAC just putting back into our handbook the Intro to Engineering and Principles of Engineering. So reinstating those credits, so.
And that's in August.
That's in
action item
August,
for
okay,
Yep.
action item. We went through the district student achievement data, and we look good. There's always room for improvement. And so they were looking at fall, spring, or fall, winter, spring, and so making sure that our numbers kind of are continuing to improve. And so principals right now are really digging into that data as to where do they need to make some improvements. So you'll kind of see through the data that we improve from fall to spring and then have a little, or improve from fall to winter and have a little dip from winter to spring. And so lots of different reasons why that could be the case. And so we are consistently above the state average and stuff in almost all of them. And so that's awesome, but we like to teeter kind of around the 80%, and some of them are more in the 70%. So kind of the curriculum team is excited about it, but they always know that we've got some improvement to move forward to. So how they look at these test scores is really, when you look at fall to winter to spring, really, is our system healthy? Are we continuing to move in the right direction at the right times? And so, how do we continue to watch that benchmark and continue to move the right way? So just a lot of information, not a whole lot of stuff that we need to vote on. And I don't know if Sarah was there, so if I missed something, go ahead and.
That's good. The health of the system, you did this. Good job.
Thank you. So that was curriculum.
Thank you, Sue. Any questions for the curriculum committee? All right. Under HR, we've got the issuance of the 2023-2024 certified staff extended contracts. So we've got a list of, looks like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 individuals who have their contracts extended anywhere from 4 to 40 days at a base rate. Looks like the total's about $24,300. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the issuance of the certified staff extended contracts. 2000.
I'll second, but I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, Jill, can you give me an example of the extended days? Like, are they more training that they need to go to? Are they conferences? Like,
Sure. So what it is there's counselors on here
okay, yep,
that would, work with students, do tours, meet with families prior to the school day.
okay.
Jacob Smith, FFA advisor.
Oh, okay.
Allie and Celeste are
Yeah.
the extended IT people. They meet with teachers before the school day begins. They go over to Irving when they get started and all the other buildings. So really, that's really what it is. It's pretty much just counselors, the IT staff, and
So they submit to us the amount of, times and days they worked over, or this is going into this next year, we know that they're gonna have 4 extended days, 15 extended days, and 40?
yeah, this will start for the next school year.
Okay.
And they do it in half-day increments, or they have to do at least in half-day increments. They don't have to do it in a full day, but they can't do it like, I was in the school for 15 minutes, I did this. It's half-day increments of work that they need to do, or full-day increments.
Like the FFA advisor
Yeah.
would get to county and state fair as part of his or her time.
Yep,
Um,
the fairs and things like that.
Conventions, things like that.
Yeah, okay.
And this used to be $25 an hour. With the master contract change, they increased that to 30. So that's
Okay,
a little bit of an increase.
thank you.
We have a first by Donna, a second by Sue. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Approval of the resolution to pay bills when the board is not in session. If I remember correctly, we do this annually?
Yep.
All right.
Motion to, I got one question. Sorry. Are we missing internet? Internet.
To be able to meet.
Do we pay an internet bill? Like, would an internet bill fall in line with this? I see telephone, I see water, light, or whatever. Maybe not, maybe it's freight, maybe that's not.
Drainage is freight, yeah.
I'm just curious,
We pay a lot of things. We pay almost everything this way. This is the ones by the way the law states, but we, every week we're paying bills. So it's not just limited to those.
got it, okay.
So-
These are examples, got it, sorry.
No, you're good. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for paying bills when the board is not in session.
Second.
First by Ben, second by Tim. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Federal funds ESSER 3 transfer resolution.
So this is, until we run out of ESSER 3 funds, we will have some transfers that happen from other funds besides the general fund because everything comes into the general fund. So from there, we transfer out. And of those, the child care fund and the self-insurance fund were the ones this year that had expenses that hit, that were actually coded to COVID. The child care fund is, they struggle to get back to normal COVID, before COVID right now still even. Not as much as in the past, but it's still, we're still not back to ground zero.
Jonna, can you just clarify, so we're taking the money out of the general fund to put in the child care and the self-insurance fund?
Right, and then it was monies that we received through this, from the state for the COVID money. So it's no net for it's a zero sum.
Just moving it from one to the other.
Because you have to be involved when there's a transfer from one fund to another, the board.
Motion to approve the federal funds ESSER 3 transfer resolution.
First by Ben, second by Ryan. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Designate a AHERA contact.
Asbestos.
So you just make the motion, the approval of Tom Tremblay as the district AHERA designated person.
I'll second it.
First by Sue, second by Donna. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Finance Committee report.
Stephen Mack.
Not it.
Rob and Tim were there. I was on the phone. We talked at great lengths with Piper about the financing piece to the high school renovation project. Did everybody get a chance to look at the memo about the phase 2 timing options? I guess my opinion was he feels pretty confident. Do you agree? With the process and being able to fund the project?
The project funding is not the issue, it's how we fund it is the issue. And when you look at the two, it's a one-page, the one that Ray has up on the screen. The first funding option shows, you need to look at the difference between the general obligation bonds and the sales tax. So of the 68 million is GO bonds for when you're looking at phase 2, the top half of the sheet. 28 million, just under 29 million for the sales tax. Okay, remember that GO bonds are what they approved, what the voters approved, up to 70 million. Okay, 70 million is tax money, is your tax bill. Property tax bill, that's that, so that's 68 million there. So sales tax is, statewide sales tax is split out. So it's use tax basically versus property tax. So if you go down to the second graph, you'll see that it's 62 million in GO bonds and 34 million in sales tax bonds. It also, the caveat there is if you look at that, you can, by funding it with sales tax bonds, and that basically what we're doing is we're borrowing ahead on our sales tax. It's a whole, you can complete a whole year earlier, from August 29 in the first example to August of 28. So really, that is remarkable, number one, because if we don't start until spring of 24, that's a 4-year project.
Yeah. And this, what he briefed tonight would be like 3 years as opposed to the 4? Is that what that
Well,
looks
he
like?
was saying that, look at what this looks like without the gym, and that could sit, he said that could sit for up to 3 years.
Yeah.
With funding like this, it looks different, that looks different,
Accelerates it
yeah.
by 1 year, yeah. Yep.
Not that we have a lot of tourism in Iowa, but they help pay that. That's the good piece.
Well, I would love to use the sales tax over
Yeah.
the geo bonds personally.
So again, like I said, you're saving, that's $6 million in geo bonds that are forever saved. The other piece to that that we need to think about is the way, he really crunches the numbers, and one of the things, there's several different limiting factors. One of the limiting factors is our debt ceiling, that we can't have any more debt than X. It's 5% of our total valuation, 4 to 5%, I can't remember exactly. So he's always solving to make sure that we fit all those parameters. So when he runs these numbers, he's done that exercise to make sure that we are fitting all of these numbers.
No, I think he's done an excellent job in putting this together. And
Because we talked around.
Oh, I know. We talked around it. I didn't completely understand it, but once he put it in this format right here, I can totally understand what that looks like with managing all those right amounts that we're supposed to have. So I appreciate this piece of information. It makes it a whole lot easier to understand.
One question that I did have was, is there any downfall to using the sales tax money?
It would be, we're always going to have some funds, and he showed that in the, what he brought to finance that you weren't able to see, and I should have sent it to you, was all the back data, which had all the spreadsheets and here's what we have, and this is what the cumulative number for our pay-as-you-go projects, so to speak. And we still would have an ample amount of funds for that. You can never borrow 100% of the sales tax. The state, there's law that you can't do that, which makes sense. Yeah.
We can go up to 12 million.
When he was doing that, as he shared it, he said, as we move forward with our sales tax, we'd still have plenty in that sales tax area, even if we did do scenario number 2, because hopefully there would be, what do you say, a 3% increase or whatever he considers it every year. And
typically, yeah.
He pushed it out that way, so.
And part of that, and it kind of shows it in the language above, it shows that the remainder of the project is funded by sales tax bonds, and in the bottom one, it shows 40.9 million. But in that, you need to, the two of the things that are required is we have to refinance, or we have to restructure our bonds. So he has to make sure that everything fits and the payment structure works. He also then, because it's sales tax bonds, in law it says that sales tax bonds have to have a reserve fund in case something gets blown up with the sales tax. So those two pieces are part of the financing scheme of that, still making that work within the parameters here.
Yep. Well, that's good information. That's all it is for right now is information, right?
Right. And as he might come with something more formal. Okay, so what needs to happen then is, because we're using sales tax, at our August 15th meeting, remember I asked, we need to make sure we have a quorum there, because we have to set the time and date for a public hearing to use our sales tax dollars for this project. Then, when we set the time and date of that September 5th, which is Tuesday after Labor Day at 5:30, to do the public hearing. you have to back up from, if we don't get it done that day, we have to wait till a whole nother year before we can start the project, because it has to give the timeline for if somebody ever questioned it. If there was a question or a petition against the project, we wouldn't hit the mark of this timeline for the coming up election,
So the 5th meeting is only for that?
for the public hearing. That's, we might have personnel because it's right after school starts. We
Right,
might,
that's what I
we might
wondered.
do
Yeah, I
something
just-
like
yeah.
that, but typically, it should be a short one.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It's pretty clear.
Will we see him one more time between now and the August meeting?
I don't think so. Do you want to? I mean, I can.
No, I just wondered if anything would potentially change.
I don't think so. And if, I can talk with him about this, that as you look at this, just, obviously there's no vote here, but if you lean one way versus the other, my guess is you're going towards a year earlier.
Yeah.
I might have a kid enjoy it.
So more to come, but that's kind of where we're at. That was, it was almost a 2-hour meeting, so.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mac. I had to leave like 40 minutes before it concluded.
That's all right. Facilities Committee report.
Solar is the hot topic.
Wait, I have a quick question, back to finance. So when we, in the years to come, where can we start putting money away for the mental health service providers, since those were ESSER funds? Like, is that something we need to?
That would only be general fund. It
That
could
would
be
be-
at-risk. At-risk funds would allow for that.
So like, that's in the back of your mind that we have
We are-
to look at that?
What you approved tonight gives you those mental health counselors for the next whole year. So we've got enough funds in the gear, just barely enough, or
So
just,
how do we plan
well, that,
for next year?
good question. I mean, you'd put, you're thinking of keeping status quo the way it is, so under $30,000 for those 3.
I don't want us to get to 24, 25, and all of a sudden, there goes the program we worked hard at. Not that's anyone's fault, but that nobody thought to make sure we have a pot of money reserved for this program.
Well, I'm almost wondering if we don't need to plan on 125% of what this year's cost was.
Well, if you look at your numbers, and you also take in career shortage in that, in a year, it's just gonna keep going. Like the 203 students is probably gonna turn into 240 by next year and continue, unfortunately, probably, until we can get a better grip on it as a society. So I just wanna make sure that it's in the back of our minds as to, so it's not a surprise this time next year when the budget comes out and we're all like, where can we find $40,000 to take care of the mental health providers? Because I think it would be a huge injustice to cut back at this point.
John and I have had conversations
Okay.
about what is that gonna look like, and, our goal, I think, because it's a goal of the board and everything else, is to continue with that. It's not something that we plan on just cutting away and not having anymore.
Yeah, I know, I just want to make sure that we're
Yep.
being proactive about where we can find funds for that. Or if a grant comes through, like, are we, making sure we're looking after that?
And that might come to fruition. That seems to be one that you see.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, facilities.
No, you're good. You want to talk about that?
No, absolutely don't want to, no?
I can talk about it if you want me to.
Sure.
So we had Eagle Point Solar. So originally what we had looked at is we asked for a bid on the rooftop model. I believe that came back at right around 150. Was it?
Between 155 and 160, yeah.
So right around the same. Rob asked if we could get another bid for what a ground array project would look like. So if you scroll down and see, both of them are not in this. If you look at the picture of the one that they've put, this is the ground array. I think it's a few more. So that's what it would look like. It has to be fenced in. At this point, we talked about going and asking some folks that have solar, like Simpson and Camp Dodge. So I'm responsible for reaching out to Camp Dodge, and I think somebody was going to reach out to Simpson. Yep. Did we get any information?
I haven't
back
heard
on that?
anything yet
Okay.
from him.
I have not asked the person. I have not done what I was tasked with yet. So
Cost is pretty
I
much
still
the
need to
same
do that.
though, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, some dialogue about whether or not, what the maintenance tail looks like if they're on top of the roof. Some talk about the fact that those would be out of reach, which offers some good opportunities. Some dialogue about the fact that if they were on the ground, it offers some educational opportunities. So a lot of varying conversation about what might be right. Solar is one of those things that it's hard to get a full understanding of it. It's hard to think through whether or not it's worth it. But at this price point right here, I think it's they've given us something that allows, or that at least shows some potential savings and would also offer an educational value. And so, but I think before we present it for anything more than information or further study at this point, we need some information from some people that actually use it to augment their system. So, is there anything I missed, John?
No. The thing that's kind of interesting is if you look at this 160 versus 158, I think is what was on the roof. Very, very similar. And a bus cost 167,000, just saying. So
To put it in perspective, yeah.
But if I'm looking at this right, it's gonna take nearly 20 years to recoup that principal.
Yeah.
It does.
That was like a topic of, it's so new, there's really nobody to talk to that's even had the equipment for 20 years to see if it's still functioning at the same level.
And that was a discussion of the group is like, well, let's talk to somebody because
Right.
you're hearing some information from people more just, they gave us that information. Well, we think that there's a lot of maintenance, but is there? We're not sure that there is.
When we did a field trip, but we toured a facility that's 10 years old, right? And so that's 10 years old. And then, even some of the, I don't know how old Simpson's array is, but even arrays that they're not 10 years old, even the ones that Camp Dodge has. So it's really hard to get, the data that we're wanting, the fidelity of the data that we're looking for. I don't know who that person is that has
And does
that.
it exist the way we want it to look? Right.
Did Simpson provide any information on whether or not they were getting?
Bernie, I don't know if Bernie's reached out to Simpson yet or not. But just in an effort to be, fiscally responsible, it's kind of, we've over-talked it, we've overthought it, but it's kind of one of those things where we're
Gotta make
like,
a decision when you
just
start.
one more question that needs to be answered before we can bring it to the board.
I don't know if this helps you, the Methodist Church, they just put solar paneling on it for for the third, it could take care of a third of the bill. They researched it pretty carefully, so I don't know.
Yeah, there's a trend towards it, and I have always thought that it was a responsible way forward. I just don't have the data that asks all the questions that come up. So I think we're trying in a responsible fashion to answer a couple of those outlying questions before we bring it to the board for action.
So hopefully in August we can
Lid on it.
but we need to change that meeting anyway. We'll talk about that later. Or meet without me.
That will not happen.
Any update on the building across the way?
I don't remember. Oh, you're talking about, no.
Okay.
Your new building.
Support operations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have an update on that.
Okay.
We didn't really talk about that because we're in the midst of, all the walls are up and the roof is on. it's proceeding, which is good. We're doing a little reshuffle inside to offer, possibly have enrollment go out there, as well as you have food service and transportation all out there. And people can go out there to register. You know, I think that will be helpful. I don't think we have the name set yet, do we, Ray?
So you call,
The DOB.
What's that?
The DOB, yeah.
The DOB? District Operations.
Operations Building? You thought it was the dock?
Ooh, that's got a ring to it. The dock.
District Operations Center, I don't know, something like that.
so how many offices did you just say you're gonna pull 2 or 3 out of this?
Just Denise, well, and Ray, I'll go out there, so transportation, facilities, food service, and IT, yeah. So our copy center will go out there, which will be good, because right now it's in the bowels of the high school, and it's a work comp. So we are trying to get rid of that. It's coming together. There's a lot of, we're, between the architect and between us, we meet every 2 weeks, and we ask lots of questions. Would you say that, Ted? I mean, we're trying to be attentive to anything that happens out there.
All right, any other questions for the Facilities Committee? Board Policy Committee. We did not meet last month, so we just have a second reading from last month's policies. Does anybody have any questions that have come up since the first reading?
Are a lot of the new print, is that legislation stuff? All the red in there that we've added,
Yeah.
some of the, or ISB's
Yep.
guidance?
Everything came from IASB.
Make a motion to approve the second reading listed policies.
First by Ben, second by Ryan. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have the board calendar. Jenna has some stuff that she needs to move around. it sounds like.
Just the 3rd, I know that I'm not available that week, so if we go to next week, we're on top of curriculum, but I don't know that any of the facilities people are on the curriculum committee.
Would you be opposed to moving the policy meeting outside of county fair?
I can do whenever done.
Oh. Thursday, can we move it? Okay. Outside of the county fair, like policy?
What day? You want to do it the next week?
Let's look and see what's on that schedule.
As we're going through that real quick, I know that Strong Roots was here tonight. I haven't ignored their emails or anything. Well, I've been in contact with Rob, and he's been sharing things out with you. I've asked Lee, and I hope it works in people's calendars, and I apologize for having to do this. I'd like to do a real short work session on Tuesday, the 25th, if we can, because we do need to address that, but we also need to talk about the 90-day ineligibility or eligibility piece again this year, because with the new open enrollment transfer piece, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be transferring all the time, and we just have to make a decision as a district if we're going to waive the 90 days or if we're going to hold steady to it. And I'd like Lee to give some information on his thoughts on that as well, along with the Strong Roots, and talk about the pros and the cons and all of those pieces. So I'm proposing something at 5:30 on Tuesday. It really, I've talked to Lee about it, it shouldn't take more than 45 minutes to an hour tops.
Is there any way we could swap technology and that and go a morning meeting or no?
What? It doesn't matter to
Do we
me.
have a big, Ray, do we have a big agenda for next Tuesday's technology?
At the moment.
If,
I have to be in Grinnell by 6:30.
if we want to do a morning one, we can.
I need to get it out so we can get it posted in time, yeah.
meet without me too.
I can't be here Tuesday either, so
I
in the
can't.
evening. Morning I could do, or if we could do Monday.
I could do Monday as well,
I just wanted to make sure that it fit Ryan's schedule.
Can,
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I can do Monday because I already have that arranged for another reason, but then I'll just, yeah, I can.
can you do
Monday or
Tuesday
Tuesday?
morning?
I can do Tuesday morning.
I can do Tuesday morning.
I would prefer morning.
You're talking?
Yeah.
Tuesday morning, next
7
week?
a.m.
Tuesday morning?
Tuesday at 7 a.m.? Okay,
Thank you, guys.
absolutely. I'll totally,
Work session, 7:25.
Okay, would that be July
25th.
My board IT.
It is a
So
Tuesday.
you just got ditched. So then,
But the three of us will, Ray, we can
We can-
talk to
If
Restellar
we need
Technology.
to Afterwards or
Yeah.
whatever.
and then what about facilities? That'd be Ben and Tim
Is
and,
there anything super pressing?
well, solar.
Well, yeah.
Are you ready to make that decision, or do you want to wait a month till September? We could cancel it for August and get to September. I mean,
I want to talk to you about that too, before you make a decision, yeah.
so
Well, it has
September.
to come here now.
I'm gonna be quiet then until we talk. Don't look at me for an answer.
He hasn't done his task.
I just want to
Yeah,
ask,
but
ask
then
you
I
some
passed,
questions.
exactly.
Yeah, September, or,
Yeah, it's fine.
okay, we'll cancel facilities then.
And policy, if we could just move a week back.
that works for me.
HR,
He's good at 7
just want to
o'clock
meet,
on
I don't
Tuesday.
have anything on that.
So we're
but
good.
We can meet if you guys want to, this Thursday.
What's that?
HR, we don't have anything right now.
Have anything? Not even meet then?
We're happy to meet if you want to.
I'll come see you if I need to meet with you. Yeah,
So, wait a second, I got
Policy too.
understand something here. So when is our next,
Yeah, I'm
like,
confused.
legit board meeting? When
John,
is the
I
next
thought you just
regular
said that the
board meeting?
15th wasn't our normal board meeting, it was just a very short meeting.
We had,
The 5th of September is the regular meeting. Go down a little.
Okay, so August 15th is our regular board meeting.
It
I
will be,
thought you
it's
said that.
typically, it's the 8th. Remember, it's the 8th,
Yeah.
which would be the second Tuesday. We pushed it to the 15th, thinking, and that is truly the last time we can do everything. So again,
I'm
watching you guys, and
I can be there for like an hour, but that's it.
So we are not doing the facilities committee,
we're canceling that. We'll wait till September, early September.
He already thinks
but
that
we
one.
are doing a finance committee meeting on the 15th.
HR either.
No HR either. Okay, so second, no, what was that again?
Finance committee on the 15th in the morning, still doing that?
We can still, we'll still plan for that, yeah. And I'll see if we need to do anything else, Travis-wise, for the Piper Jeff, or
we
Piper.
got the policy committee change that too.
What
We
date?
changed it again, if it works for you, to the
I can-
8th.
Any of them work. You just let me know, I'm here. Just tell me, whatever works in your guys' schedule.
Policy Tuesday the 8th, 7 a.m.
Okay, got it.
Flexible.
Okay.
That's
Wow.
flexible.
Yeah, I'm here, I got that.
With you guys too, because I think we will need to schedule IT.
Either good or a bad thing, I'm not sure yet.
Time will tell.
All right, any additional agenda items that you guys want on the next agenda? Okay. Motion to adjourn? First by Ryan,
Second.
second by Donna, all those in favor? Opposed? You're adjourned.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
You're getting closer to the wedding.
I gonna be soon before you know it.
And they'll be over even sooner.
My daughter number 2 gets married on Saturday.
Oh my gosh. Yes. This Saturday? Yes, yes.
This Saturday, yep.
And
They're,